Okay, go.
All right, here we are.
I like
40 mics later.
I like the backup mic.
There's
Yeah.
3 backup mics this time.
Yeah. So welcome back to Little Oak Weekly.
Welcome
Little
back.
Oak Often, Little Oak Monthly.
Yeah, we're getting there. It has been. It's been busy.
Well, it's sickness.
That too. Oh my god.
It
was awful.
I couldn't do this for weeks.
No,
I
me
would.
too.
I mean, I could have. I felt okay. My voice just was.
I was in bed.
There was zero chance I could do it. But boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to talk
Lots
about.
to talk about.
So let's start with. Well, let's just dive in. I mean, the world is. We got all kinds of crazy things going on.
But before that, can I just say congrats to everybody at the award ceremony?
Great place.
Yeah.
Great place
Let's start on a number.
We'll start on a happy note, everyone.
Yeah, congrats. That was fun.
That was fun. Yeah, we did. Well, that was
we did both in the same weekend.
Yeah, and we're in our we always, whenever we do these things, we do review conversations and talk about how can we do things differently or better the following year. And while we don't have anything to announce yet, we're excited about what we might do next year, change things up a little bit, streamline it, and stay tuned for that.
It was still a fun change. Even this one was a bit different than the year before. So,
how so?
Well, we tried to make it a little bit more
loose and casual.
Yeah. We kind of got there. We didn't quite reach it.
We want to get away from the whatever.
Well, we just went through a whole sit down and be fancy. That wasn't.
You mean at the medallion?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the best part of the medallion is the pre-party.
Yeah,
and so we're thinking through that too, about how to maybe, I don't know, combine some things for next year.
Oh, okay.
Create.
I heard some word of that, and I was like, I'm going to murder Andrew.
I said we're talking about it.
I don't remember who told me, but I was like, that mother.
I get visions, epiphany. Yeah. I have ideas. But I will say, I mean, these things, when we do these things, I would say the vast majority of the time people come away going, that was incredible. That was a great experience. Yeah. And one reflection I always have is like, I would love to see greater attendance at everything we do. And so, we're just always striving to drive more engagement, more involvement.
Yep.
And these were great events. They went over extremely well. But
the award one was surprisingly well attended, given how many people were sick.
Well, we had like probably 20 people who canceled just because of sickness.
There were 59 people there.
Yeah, but we would have had like probably more like 80.
Crazy.
Had we not had sickness. So it's the time of year,
but I've something that hit.
I know, I've never seen it like this, where so many people were down, and our own staff. I mean, myself included. Like, we were very worried a week leading into it, thinking like, are we going to even be able to do this?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, congrats to everyone. What a truly a successful year. If we look just in whole at what our office accomplished together, all of our locations, we dominated once again at the podium in terms of I think every one of our brokerages was top 3 or better in their category. What our agents sell in terms of average deals per head in comparison to the rest of the board is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about some of those stats at the awards
that's right.
Thing, and I think I actually had a bunch of people reach out to me after that. They're like, can you get me those
I had people
stats?
saying to me like, oh, I really like what Andrew talked about with stats. Do you have those? I was like, I didn't hear anything said.
Yeah, so I mean, you know what? I've sent them out to some people independently.
We should put them on the wants now.
I can touch on. I'll just touch on a couple things right now, like very briefly. I didn't prepare for this, so I don't have everything. But I mean, it was basically this. In comparing to 2009, which was, I believe, the most challenging year up until last year, 2024. Mm-hmm. When you run the math on the number of sales that we had in the board that year, which was right in and around 14,000, and actually in 2024 we didn't even quite hit the amount of sales that we had in 2009. Right. So that in and of itself gives one pause, because when you just think about, you okay?
Oh yeah.
Okay. When you just think about, I'm so freaked out by the mics whenever I see you mess around.
You can't be wrong this time.
Yeah, we got mics everywhere. I digress. Sorry. So when you consider just the growth in population from 2009 to 2024, even all things being equal, we should have more transactions.
Sure.
We got more people here, we got more housing, yet we didn't. But the biggest piece that impacts the day-to-day life of all of us and just a realtor in the Fraser Valley Board in general is how the competition has greatly increased. So, you take those 2 years, you compare them, you go, well, they're kind of the same sales-wise. Yet in 2009, I had said 3,000. It's actually more about like 2,800 agents were in the board licensed around that time.
Yeah.
And you could go up or down a few depending on
Sure.
what day you pick, but it's in and around that. Whereas last year, for the majority of last year, we bumped between 54 and 5,600 realtors. Today, I think we're at 5,200 or something like that. So if you just said, well, let's take the number of transactions and divide it by the number of agents, last year was way more difficult just because the pie is the same, but we got way more people eating the pie.
Yeah.
So last year, it turns out to be an average of 2.5 transactions per head if you just do the math. And in 2009, it was double that. It was about 5. So, I believe, based on the data, that 2024 was the most difficult year I've seen in my 22 and a half years. I think a lot of people would agree with that. There was different things going on post-financial crisis, but Canada really skated through post-financial crisis quite well in comparison to a lot of other parts of the world. And while our real estate market did drastically slow down, when you look at those numbers, you go, well, it was still reasonably, it was a reason, it wasn't as challenging as it is today, just based on the pie being cut up. Now, you can make a counter argument and say, well, commissions have inflated to the point where doing an average of 2.5 deals versus 5 deals is similar. And, you get into the weeds in the conversation. But the bottom line is we measure our success by and large by number of transactions. And, there's further evidence when you look at the threshold for what making Medallion was this year. I think it was 9.5 deals. It was 9.5 or 10. It was right in that range.
Yeah.
We have had years in the not distant memory where the threshold was around 30 transactions.
Wow.
So now that's going back to an era where we weren't anywhere near 5,000 or more agents. We had a lot of years for a long time where agent count was well under 3,000 and even close to 2,000. But we've had this incredible surge in membership. Real estate has become this very attractive thing for people to get into, whether it be second, third, fourth career option or part-time thing. And so we all are increasingly having the experience where, you either lose an opportunity or lose business because somebody who you think should have or may have transacted with you is not, because there's a greater likelihood that that person's got a cousin or a brother or an aunt, right? And so you times that by a couple thousand, and that's where this environment becomes challenging to get our share. So in light of all of that, our agents performed incredibly well. And another stat I rattled off was something like, it was like just under 3% of the population of the board in terms of Little Oak and North Star agents, yet we participated in 13% of the transactions. Awesome. I might be off by 0.1 or something like that, but it's generally those numbers. So, we are way out punching our weight class in terms of the transactions we're involved in and the deals we're doing. It doesn't necessarily feel wonderful in a year like 2024, but we can't measure ourselves against 2021. If you go from 29,000 transactions to 14,000 transactions,
that's going to hit everybody.
It's going to hit everybody. Yep. And all we can do is measure ourselves against the field, and against the field, we were unbelievable.
Awesome.
So, and we're continuing that trend here again in 2025. 25, unfortunately, is off to a incredibly strange start, different than what I think anybody was predicting in the last quarter of last year. Like, if I think of all the things that I sat in on, whether it was bank economists or, the major players in the real estate industry, including, the Royal LePage think tank, everybody was predicting marginal increase in sales and marginal increase in average price point or median or whatever you want to talk about. And the first 2 months of the year now, we've started off basically at or slightly behind what we were in 2024.
Right.
It's specifically
in the beginning of 2024.
Yeah, if we compare like Jan and Feb, and now I don't have all the numbers for the whole country, but I can tell you, like, generally speaking, Greater Toronto, Greater Vancouver, we're way behind where we want to be or thought we would be. And then there's other parts of the country, prairies, parts of Alberta that are, I don't want to say they're booming, but they're thriving much better than we are. So yeah, I don't really, I don't know what to say about that other than the fact that, we're in one of these places where I think when the boom is on, we boom harder than everybody else.
Sure.
We get to experience the benefits of that. Like, what we went through in 2021 and 22, there would only be probably the GTA that got to experience what we experienced in terms of the amount of boom, the amount of growth in sales, the amount of growth in prices. Like, don't forget that we went up our detached values from, if you measured detached values from the end of 19 or the beginning of 20, just before COVID hit, and then look at the peak in early 2022, depending on the market in the Lower Mainland, like, you're talking 80 to 90% increased values in detached pricing. It was 80 to 90%.
Wow.
So, we all experience the benefits of that. And then there's the volume of transactions, right? We hit almost 30,000 transactions. Right. There's other parts of the country that, they experienced a COVID surge, but not to that degree. And so I think part of what we experience here is now, we get the other edge of the sword, right? We boom the hardest and we slow down and correct the hardest. I think that's not scientific, but seems logical to me.
Feels like that, yeah.
So I think that's probably why, the GTA and the Greater Vancouver area are lagging behind some of the performers in the rest of the country. Like, if you look at the prairie provinces, they're not, having as hard a time as we are. I'm not sure about the Maritimes. But bottom line is on a whole, we are not off to the start that many predicted. And of course, therein enters the conversation of, well, why is that? And you've got different theories from, it's very popular right now to obviously blame what's going on in the US. And, I guess we've had tariffs now from this recording. We've had it for 24 hours. We were frozen. We've been frozen. Are they going to happen? Are they not going to happen? Now we have tariffs. And now there's already talk as of yesterday that, like, well, maybe they're not going to be on that long and maybe there's going to be a deal struck. So all of this just creates incredible uncertainty.
Sure.
And, the most valuable, I want to call it an asset. Yeah. The most important thing in a market of any kind, and the cheapest thing actually to create, is consumer confidence. And it's our confidence that is fractured right now. And I believe that's the most important thing that is, giving us these negative impacts.
Sure.
What are you hearing?
I don't listen to most of it, to be honest. With regards to all the Trump tariff stuff, I just think this is the best time for agents to be pushing that we're Canadian and hard. There is a weird sentiment of, well, maybe it's not weird, but just only Canada, buy Canada, stay in Canada. And I think we have a big benefit now of pushing the fact that we're behind a 100% Canadian brand. And I've started to see some agents lean into that. I think it's a silly thing that somebody might make a decision based off that, but it definitely feels like that.
Yeah. So does that? I've seen that too, and I mean, we're
doing it.
We're putting out some marketing pieces on a brokerage level that we're embracing that. I don't like. I mean, me personally, I'm not one that says, oh, screw the U.S. I'm not buying certain products.
I would never look at where something was made. I'm going to buy the best quality at the cheapest price, and I don't care where. For me personally.
Yeah, and because of the way our country is set up and the relationships that we have with our trade partners and the patterns that have been in place for decades, we don't consume, by and large. I mean, there's obviously some Canadian goods that we consume, but we're not a manufacturing country. So basically everything we buy and wear and use is not from here. And yes, we have other trade partners, but when that's the way your company, your country is constructed, and then your biggest trade partner uh, is the United States, it's kind of hard to say, well, I'm not gonna
Yep.
consume anything from the U.S. So, and I don't. I guess we're just going to get right into this now.
Yeah, let's
So
do it.
we'll just go. So I should say one of the things that I was hoping to do here today is um, give talking points to these issues, not for the purpose of saying, well, this is how I think, and everybody needs to think this way. Um, More just you know we gotta be able to talk about it, and so I'm going to share some ideas as to how I talk through these things with my clients, because the
When you say
worst,
these things, are we talking like
well,
about the
you,
U.S. Canada thing?
yeah, like, I mean, you can't, it's funny. I would say that if we had David Rochelle sitting here right now, um, he would say, and I would agree with him, like, don't get into politics,
Yeah.
stay out of politics and, stay in our lane and talk about real estate.
Mm-hmm.
It is impossible right now to do our job and totally avoid the conversation.
Okay, so I don't even do real estate almost ever, and I had a conversation yesterday
Yeah.
with an RCMP. I just got to know her through helping her in the past when I used to do deals, so I still help her every now and then. But she was asking me because there's a property she's interested in,
Yeah.
and it came up, and I was like, so even for me, who
Yeah.
barely deals with it, it's coming up.
Yeah, and it's the problem here is that we've got there's numbers to discuss that the numbers impact our world and our market. But then behind the numbers, we've got the figures who are driving the conversation have been very polarizing figures. And so
Right.
people are afraid to talk about it. I understand why, because quite frankly, like, I mean, I would say I'm someone where, like, I don't want division. I'm tired of
Mm-hmm.
division. I don't,
Yep.
we've had our share of division in the last number of years as we've gone through, the COVID experience, and just internally in our country, that was polarizing thing. And
Yep.
I am done with that. I don't want to be
I
there.
agree.
But here we are again, where we're in another polarizing moment. And now, you know, it feels a little bit different because it is a Canada-US thing, but it's not entirely a Canada-US thing, because we have, once again, we've got division within our own country. Because if you dare say that you've got an open mind to the way the US is handling their politics right now, then you can very easily just be thrown into a basket and
Yeah.
attacked
There
here.
is no one side or the
And
other, or sorry, there's no middle ground. It seems with a lot of people.
there isn't. It's this, so we've been fractured. We're still vulnerable. I think there's wounds that aren't completely healed. And so as a result, I think I'd say all that to go, like, a lot of people are just going, I don't want to touch it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to talk about it. But we've got to talk about it, and we've got to find intelligent, gracious ways to talk about it, cloaked in empathy and open-mindedness, because our people, our clients, are frozen. Uh, Consumer confidence is the most inexpensive yet best way of having a people move forward, and that is the thing we're lacking most right
Mm-hmm.
now. And there's great opportunity in the moment we're in, and there's things that can be done to show some people that now is the time that they should be transacting. And so as a result, you can't do that though unless you're willing to dive into the issues,
Mm-hmm.
which means you got to wade into that water, as scary as that sounds, and you got to be able to have a conversation with people who may very well be, if you were to really get to the heart of it, maybe you would disagree on some
Sure.
things, but there's things that you can agree on, and there's things that as agents we can point to and say, hey, here's the fundamental issues that are important to the market. Here's the impacts they're having, and here's where I see opportunity and why I think there's opportunity for you. So I'll lead right into a point off of that.
Mm-hmm.
We're now in a moment where, you know, I don't want to say that you can just easily go out and write subject to sale offers, but we can all agree that days on market is higher.
Right.
There was many years where you could not help some people transact because things were moving too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
They had no time to think. And so I'm just thinking specifically of one young couple in my mind where they live in a condo. They wanted to transact in 2021. They had a young kid, and at that time, another one on the way. And it was like, hey, how can we get into a townhouse? And it was just too scary for them because how could we possibly, in their mind, how can we list our home, our condo, knowing
Right.
it's going to sell? Yeah, we could get longer dates, but like now
You're
we're going into
committed.
this fray of
Mhm.
the first townhouse that comes up. We can't hum and haw. There's going to be 9 offers on it, and we can't afford to be homeless with our young family.
Sure.
So those clients of mine put everything on pause and they never moved. Well, these are the types of people that need a call today
Sure.
because the moment is perfect for them. There's lots of townhomes
Mm-hmm.
that would work for them based on what we were talking about in 2021. These townhomes are sitting there on the market. And in the right circumstance, we could probably write a subject to sale offer if we wanted, or at the very least, have confidence selling our condo,
that you'll find something.
knowing that we can find
Yep.
something. So one of the exercises I did actually this past week, you can see my papers on my desk over there. I literally printed out my entire database of people, and I spent like probably 45 minutes to an hour just going through with a highlighter, not with any intent other than I'm going to focus on each name, think about each family, each person, their circumstances, and highlight people where I think there's value in having a conversation.
Mhm.
This is something, I'll give credit to Kelly Mann. So I was in conversation with her early this morning, um, just touching in on a couple things. And, she made the comment, just generally speaking, saying she thinks people are unaware of how much need there is for support and direction right now. So she's, she's saying like, we're all missing out on an opportunity if we're not in touch with our people.
Mhm.
And then of course you can take that a layer deeper, like I did, where it's like, okay, well, I'm not just saying, okay, generally speaking, all my people need to hear from me,
Yeah.
but there's like a specific group of people that I think, I have a message for. And the message is, 2021 wasn't the time. Now might be the time. Or the other thing that I did with some of the people on that list is um, just literally offering a CMA on their properties because people are, as we all know, there's a lot of loans coming up for renewal in 25 and 26. I think an unprecedented amount in our country's history. And so we all have people in our lives where they may have that need. They might just need to know where they stand financially
Mhm.
as they prepare to make decisions for these properties. Some of these properties are going to come to market. Some of them are just going to get refinanced. I ended up in a long text stream with a client yesterday. I had started making these emails and calls, and then it led to a bunch of conversations. It's crazy how it just instantly led to a bunch of conversations. And in one of my client situations, like, are they going to transact and sell something? No. But what I discovered is that they're, they've got some financing coming up on a property, and I opened their mind to think about it in a different way. And they're now going to look at rejigging some of their financing, and I'm helping, make the connection there. So that is value add
For sure.
to the client,
Yeah.
right? And we want to drive transactions, but the way we drive transactions is we expand relationships and we add value to relationships. And there's an incredible opportunity right now to be an asset to the people in our lives. And so in light of all this, one of the takeaways, I think is we probably are underestimating the need that people have right now for guidance. And the only way we can meet that need is if we're finding ways to be in touch with them.
Hmm. It's funny you mentioned that you were providing CMAs. I think it was just this past week. I've had 2 different agents tell me that that's an area they really struggle. So it might be worthwhile for us
Like
to,
how to do a
yeah,
CMA, you
how to
mean?
properly put
Or
together a CMA.
I'm just going to read out, I'm literally going to read out an email that I sent, because there might be some people going like, well, how do you just randomly reach out to somebody and offer? Because I know that that's an objection. People are like, well, I haven't talked to this person in 3 years. Like,
You got to
they're
start sometime.
gonna think I'm a vulture, you know. So here's a client. Now, I've known this person for a long time. Like, I transacted with them in 2015, and you know, they've referred their family to me over the years, but I haven't transacted with them since 2015. They live in South Surrey. I actually didn't help them with where they are in South Surrey. They used to live in Abbotsford. Um, so I won't say the person's name. We'll call him Bob. Hi, Bob. I hope this email finds you and your family doing well. The uncertainty in our market and economy has recently caused a number of my clients to reach out for a conversation as it pertains to each of their holdings and assets. Therefore, I am emailing to offer just that. If you would benefit from a conversation, or if I could bring value to you in any way, I would be happy to do so. In the interest of saving time and requiring another email, no response will be my signal that nothing is needed. Have a wonderful day. So I'm not fishing, like, you know,
Yeah.
any hesitation that there is here about like, well, I don't want to be perceived as a vulture who's just trying to randomly reach out. I think I've dispelled all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just offering a conversation around values. And notice the way I start, the uncertainty in our market and economy has recently caused a number of my clients to reach out, which is true,
Mm-hmm.
by the way. And even if it's not true for everybody, I
Sure.
mean, it's
You can still
happening.
say it. Yeah.
And so as such, here I am wondering if you would like this as well. It's a free offer. And again, if people are too busy and it's useless to them, then I even went ahead and said, and if you don't need anything, your silence will be my answer and I'll leave you alone, right? So
I was also impressed if you scroll up to your subject.
what did I say?
It's just all lowercase, which I was like, maybe that's a more friendly approach. I just don't see any capitals, and it for some reason threw me off.
I mean, that's probably because I don't have proper command of the English language.
It was impressive though.
Yeah, that's right.
Like all
My
lowercase.
subject was touching base on market conditions.
Right.
I don't know. I didn't put any thought into that.
Which is, I think, a good thing. I think you're just kind of like, it
Yeah.
makes it more personal.
Yeah. So there you go. If you want to rip that from me, rip it from me. You can play this thing back. I think I read it out clearly.
You did,
right?
yep.
And you know, there's a script to use to email everybody, email whoever you want. I mean, if you haven't been in touch with your people, then send it to everybody.
Yeah.
I've been in touch with mine on a regular basis, and so I've just done this, you know, whatever, with specific people.
And what you wrote, you could write, anybody could write to anybody, even if they haven't spoken to them in a very long time.
100%.
Because like you mentioned that you were in touch with yours a lot, but even if you weren't, that email comes across fine, like that.
Yeah, there's nothing needy about that.
Mm-mm.
I'm just saying, hey, do you need a conversation in light of
Is there
what's...
any way I can help?
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
Yep, yep. So, yeah, I don't know.
I think that's
is
good.
that good
I
on
am
that?
curious how much, you know, like when we talk about there's talking points and people that things that are freezing people, you know, with regards to whether it's the U.S. Canada thing, I think it affects people a lot less than they think it does. Like I think people make it sometimes a bit not personal, but a bit bigger than it actually is.
Reframe how you're saying that, like in the context of like
Well, it's
agents or
no
customer, or like...
customers, clients. I think if people are frozen about that, I think it actually is affecting them less than they think it is.
Oh yeah, when you analyze the data and the numbers, like, I mean, just okay, case in point, like we have had zero impact to this moment in time. Nothing has happened. There is zero results from tariffs
Right.
to this point in time. Yet, if you lived here in the last 60 days, you would think that like everything has been implemented and everything's more... but it's all mind virus,
Right.
right? Like, but the mind virus is the most important mechanism that gives, like, consumer confidence is everything.
What are you finding with people? So you send this email out, you reaching out, you getting people reaching back out to you. Is there sort of like an overall theme that you can even see as to why people might be not transacting right now or not wanting to transact? Like, does it have anything?
Yeah, it's fear of the unknown. So
what's the fear?
So the fear. Well, this is the thing, right? So the digger, the deeper you dig, and if you're prepared for it, and if you practice it, and you go through this in your mind and you have your talking points, you can get to a place with a lot of people, most people, where the fear is not real.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing real there.
Yeah.
There is a lot of circumstances. There's a lot of people in the marketplace right now that if you were to just look at the drivers and the mechanisms in their life and what they may be wanting to accomplish one day, and let's say they've been thinking about doing something for the last 2 or 3 years and they didn't for whatever reason, now is actually the time.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to throw everything on the table, cost of lending, what prices have done, the settling, and generally speaking, anybody that is moving up, that would be moving up, going to something more expensive than what they're in, there's never been a better time
Right.
in the last 5 years to do
Mm-hmm.
that. There was, if we go back, 18 months ago, before rates started to settle down a little bit, there was a really difficult time where the gap had shrunk. So if you were trying to go, from townhouse to house or condo to townhouse, values compress in an adjusted market. So the capital difference between the upgrade is smaller now than it was in any time
Mm-hmm.
in the COVID boom.
Mm-hmm.
So check mark, that's one. Now you could say, okay, well, what was the monthly cost comparison? And there was a time when rates had flown up where even though the capital difference between said townhouse to house was smaller, the monthly cost was way higher.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? With the rates adjusting in the last year, and yes, I know fixed hasn't adjusted as much, but it is still adjusted. We were in a space not that long ago where the best fixed rates you were getting were 5.5,
Mm-hmm.
and today you're getting 4.5, and in some cases even less than 4.5. It actually makes sense now for people to be making the move,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason we're not is fear and uncertainty. And fear and uncertainty of what? Well, the lower you go and the more you dig, the more for many people you can unwind the fact that they can't point to something because there actually isn't necessarily a practical reason
Right.
to not do it. But it's,
They're just frozen.
well, I mean, if my brain's just on CNN and CBC and Fox all day, every day from 5 p.m. to 12 p.m., well, then the frickin' world is caving in.
Yeah.
And the sky is falling. And I don't know, we might be in Armageddon and World War III. And so then you just go, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
And, that is human nature, right? You could then, the other side of the argument is you could say, well, in 2021 and 2022, there was probably a bunch of people that transacted that shouldn't have transacted.
Sure.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're all a bunch of sheep,
mm-hmm.
and we just follow the crowd. So, and we're seeing the evidence of some of that now, right? There's a lot of people that participated in a lot of pre-sale transactions and they never had the means to close. And it was the cool thing, everyone was doing it, and they're all going to get rich and become millionaires and flip these things out for more money. And guess what? The rubber's meeting the road now, baby, and they should have never done those deals.
Mm-hmm.
So sheep move sometimes in the right direction, when it makes sense. And sometimes they move in the wrong direction when it doesn't make sense. And right now the sheep are sitting around going, well, we think this makes the most sense. And for many of them, this does not make the most sense. What makes the most sense for a lot of people is achieving their goals and dreams today.
Right.
But in order to do that, they need trusted professionals in their life to help walk them through these intricate details and show them on paper, in writing, with logic, why this is the time to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough. This is not a 30-minute conversation and then boom, let's go write an offer on a house. These conversations take time. You do it once, it settles in, you revisit it, you have it again, and you're building courage in your clients while the entire world is stripping away that courage.
Yeah.
You are swimming upstream, baby.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard.
Yeah.
But if you can do it and you do this consistently over time and you speak with logic and reason and data and you have an opinion that you formulated based on what is good facts, and again, you can be wrong. It's okay to be wrong. You just got to show that your thought process is logical. It's only a matter of time till people start to lean on you as their trusted source.
Mm-hmm.
And you can possibly help people do some of the greatest transactions ever in this time. Nobody that I can think of in my life or in any peripheral or any anybody else that I know talks about the transaction they did in 2009 or 2010 as the greatest mistake they've ever made.
No.
Most people go, oh my gosh,
Best decision.
that was the best thing I ever did. I'm so glad I upgraded. I'm so glad I bought that place or that investment property or whatever.
Totally.
Why? Because it was the bottom of the market. The sheep weren't doing it. And in history, you look back and you go, that was the best thing I ever did.
Yep.
What do we get? We get more stories of people doing stuff in the boom. So like, the previous boom of, 2017, 2018, when it was sexy to do everything, there were some mistakes made there. There were some mistakes made in 21, 22. Mistakes are not as prevalent in times like today because the opportunity is at its greatest.
That's perfect.
It's a big task we have in front of us. It is not easy. Our goal, my goal here is to help, we want to equip our guys to have these conversations and to think through these complex issues. But it starts with, we have to grapple with the numbers. Like practically speaking, if you've got people in your database or in your brain where you go, okay, I got to run a scenario. They live in a townhouse that's worth 700 grand. It used to be worth 900, but when it was 900, the home they would have wanted to move in was 1.5, and it didn't work for whatever reason. And now that home that was 1.5 is 1.2, and run the math, do the numbers. And not to mention, back then, they couldn't even find the house. Like, it was impossible. Yeah. And today they can get it. And today, dare I say, you can maybe even get it in the right circumstances by actually writing a subject to sale offer, which I know we don't love to talk about, but here's the reality. I've done a lot of deals subject to sale in my time. And you can navigate that well if done properly. And there's great opportunity for people who were once frustrated by not being able to find something. I can't remember what the math is. I want to say that we're around 8,000 properties for sale now in the Fraser Valley, or getting close.
We're talking total.
Total. And I mean, we journeyed for years while being well under 4,000, sometimes even under 3,000. So, we got to go glass half full here and go, well, is this different? Yeah, it's different. But wherein lies the opportunity? Well, there's a ton of opportunity. There's a lot of people out there that need sales, and we got to find a way to help our people transact. And there's certain people where this is a prime opportunity to transact. I'm just looking at number, what does it say for number of listings right now? Or actually, I'll do it this way. Multi-class, active, Fraser Valley, drum roll, 7,400. So these are just the residential. This doesn't include commercial. So like, depending on what stat line you're looking at, sometimes it includes commercial. Obviously, we're well over 8,000 now when you talk about commercial and residential. And I want to say, like, again, in times gone by, we've peaked out close to 10,000, and we might get there.
Yeah, it's getting there.
But there's great opportunity in that moment.
Sweet.
Bond rates
I saw you had that up, yeah.
Yeah, so
when's the next announcement?
So we have an interest rate announcement. What's your time at? Are we okay for time?
Yep.
Yeah, we're okay. Bond rates this is really weird what we got going on right now, because bond rates have fallen. Where are my bond rates? Here we are. The reason bond rates are important is because historically our fixed rates have a relationship to the 5 and 10 year returns on bonds. And so bond rates have fallen quite steadily here over the last, few weeks. Fixed rates haven't reacted yet.
Right.
And, but history would teach us, but again, I don't want to profess to be a banking science professional here, but I can tell you
definitely
that
a profession.
I've done enough research and I've talked to enough people to know that it's highly unusual. Like if you just take case, so right now, 5-year bond yield, 2.53. Okay. Historically, if you said, what's the relationship between 5-year fixed rates and 5-year bond rates? If you just go back over the last 10, 15 years, historically, the 5-year lending rates usually sit between a point to a point and a quarter, and maybe a little bit more than a point and a quarter above 5-year rates. So if we just ran that math right now, we said, well, at 2.53, and it was at 2.5, I think it dipped down to 2.47 yesterday, but here's the trend line. You can see the trend line, 2.7, 2.67, we use historical data, we go like, oh, we should have fixed rates like below 4%. We should be at 3.6 to 3.9, depending on, where you want to fall in that
Right.
range. And today, we're talking 4.5, maybe slightly under 4.5. So there is a gap right now that we are living in, which is contradictory to 10, 15, 20-year averages of that relationship. So what do I have to say about that? Well, I got to believe something's got to give. Either we're going to have bond rates come up, or we're going to have fixed rates come down. And there's opposing views on this. And again, I mean, every day it changes because we have tariffs, we don't have tariffs. We're doing a deal, we're not doing a deal. And so I am, the more we get into this, and then the more we talk about, economic uncertainty and, who knows how long these tariffs are around for. We do have a possibility here that we see fixed rates come down. And if we see fixed rates come down, I said earlier, the most important thing in our world for what we do is consumer confidence. The second most important thing is cost of borrowing. Those two things are actually all I care about. We've got lots of stories. We could look back and say, there's times where Canada has been in economic recession overall, but our real estate market here has thrived. And by thriving, I'm not necessarily talking about setting the world on fire with new high price benchmarks.
Right.
I'm just talking about volume of transactions. Just volume of transactions. Consumer confidence, cost of borrowing. Those are the things that free up the consumer to transact. And if, right now, just talked about confidence, why confidence is fractured. We got to be able to help our people through that. But then cost of borrowing is another one. And we possibly have a situation here where, we can have a reality where tariffs, are they bad? Do we not want them? Are they bad for all kinds of reasons? Sure, I'll leave it to people smarter than me to talk about how they might negatively impact our country on a whole. Tariffs could actually have an inverse effect on our real estate market.
Right.
And this is a conversation that I've had with some of my people. If we have tariffs long term, that hurts our economy. If our economy gets hurt, we're going to see Bank of Canada reactions, bond yield reactions. As bond yields react, fixed rates come down. There's lots of precedent to show that we've thrived as agents and our overall real estate market has thrived with volume of transactions while we're in an economic recession.
Right.
So what the irony is here is I sometimes I'm on some of these internal, chat groups, whatever, BC Realtor comment. BC Realtor Corner,
Yeah.
I've never made a comment. I don't think I ever will make a comment, but I watch people just lose their minds.
It's really funny to watch.
There's all kinds of people right now just screaming from the top of their lungs, this is the worst thing ever, screw Trump, screw the US, whatever. The irony is that it's possible that this could actually be the thing that frees up our little world here of real estate transactions. So think about that for a second. And there's lots of precedent where we've thrived while the country on whole has been in recession. We need volume of transactions. And the way we get volume of transactions is consumer confidence and cost of borrowing. And if, the confidence is tough right now, like I said, you're swimming upstream, you got to be the voice in your people's head. But if we get a change in lending policy as a result of these things, that can make a big difference to how our people make decisions. As we all know, all of our clients make decisions just based on what's the number every month. We talk about the price of the home or whatever. It's not what it is. It's what's the monthly cost. That's how we decide on price. And if monthly cost comes down, that's going to free up some people to make some decisions that they otherwise wouldn't.
Cool. Is there another announcement coming from Bank of Canada?
Yeah, we have so that's the variable, the Bank of Canada is the key lending rate, and that's happening on March 12th.
Okay. And,
a week ago, when you saw some of the reports out of our fourth quarter, as a country, it was, Bank of Canada is probably going to hold its rate because numbers were better than they are, and whatever. I won't get into that. I don't believe they were better than when you dig deep at the numbers, you realize that so much of our GDP right now in our country is just government spending. It's not private. It's not small business expansion. By and large, it's government spending our own money, but another conversation. But then when we get this stuff in the last week, now we got a reversal. Now it's like, now we're talking, oh, we might have emergency measures, emergency rate cuts. We might need to stimulate the economy. Like, it is actually shocking to see, the policy leaders in our country. You can see how, the word I want to use, they don't even know what end is up. And to see them change their tune week after week, as a result of, what's going on in another country. And yes, it's our greatest trading partner. It just shows the fragility of the Canadian mindset right now. And what we really need is, we need strong leadership. We need an election. We need a leader with a mandate to make decisions that are in the best interest of our country, where they're not thinking about winning an election in the next 60 days. We need somebody who's in power, who knows that they've got a long runway now to make important decisions. And right now we've got, every leader is, and I'll say they're all guilty of this. I mean, probably no secret where I lie politically, but they're all guilty of it. They're all just feeling the need to say what they need to say in order to win this hypothetical vote that we're going to have at some point in time. And so they're all playing politics, but playing politics does us nothing right now.
Doesn't help us.
We need serious people making serious decisions for the long-term benefit of our country. And if we had that, our consumer confidence would go up, because at least everybody in the country would say, okay, this is the direction we're heading. You might like some of it, not like some of it, whatever, but at least we have a clear path. Right now, we don't have a clear path, and we got people playing politics, and nobody is able to handle the American dynamic because we don't have anybody in power. So that's what we need more than anything else. But in lieu of the fact that there's nobody leading in our country right now, we all need to be the leaders for our people. You've got to be the voice of reason. You've got to work through these tough issues, and you got to sit with your people, and you got to say, here's what I think, and here's where I see opportunities for you. Let's not be sheep. Let's be leaders in these times and find the opportunities that exist for all of us.
I like it. What do we got coming up? Let's wrap this up, because I know you got to get running too.
We
have 2 office meetings coming up.
Office meetings, yeah. So next week, so I don't know the dates. You want me to say the date? Well, it's always Wednesday. It's the second and third Wednesday. We're running 2 a month right now, and
12th and 19th.
Say that again.
March 12th and March 19th.
March 12th and March 19th. We've got training inserted into the office meetings now. So rather than running many different training sessions outside of office meetings, we've got them baked into office meetings in an effort to get more people.
Some outside of it.
Yeah. Oh, someone just cranked the light on while we're. That's okay. Doesn't matter. Whatever. We'll finish it this way. And then Ray's actually doing a training session today.
Yeah.
And then we've got so we've got some good content coming up. I know you got some content coming up. I've got some content coming up.
Yeah.
Baked into the office meetings.
Bold Trail's coming. I think the week of our office meeting. So I got to see it yesterday. And then Gemini was just released for all of RLP, which is awesome. So I'm going to show how to use that. And then I think you have a training session actually coming up. I think we talked about one.
In April.
In April, that's right.
In April. Yeah, so in about a month. But we've got, we're doing stuff inside the office meetings on the next 2 Wednesdays, which will be high value. And
then it's spring break.
And then spring break, yeah. But we want to have as many people out as possible, which is why we're doing 2. So we're doing Abbey and Surrey. Everybody can come on out to those.
Yep.
And
I'll send you a text.
That's right. Yeah, send you a text.
Sweet.
Okay, good.
Let's wrap it up.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks.